Greetings, YouTube! The Doctor is in. Dr. Urius Papers here, coming at you with another commentary on Dungeons and Dragons. And today we are going to be talking about the spell Shapechange. I've got the legacy version up here right now, and we are going to be going over changes that were made in this spell in the 2024 Dungeons and Dragons update in the Player's Handbook. So lots to go over. We're also going to be going over what the spell started out as in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, which is first edition, through second edition and third edition. We'll be looking at all that. We'll be looking at what you can do with this spell. So lots to go over, lots to see. Stay tuned. Don't go away. All right, before we begin, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a question or a comment. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. And don't forget to share the video either. All right, so we have our spell, Shapechange. Here it is as it appeared in the 2014 Player's Handbook. 9th level spell, 1 action, self, verbal somatic material component, 1 hour duration with concentration, was transmutation, of course. Back in the day, we gave this spell an A. I didn't feel, because of a few things in here, and there is one particular sentence in here, I didn't feel that it necessarily was an S-level spell. It's a very powerful spell. It is a 9th level spell, but I don't think it hit the level of S. So let's take a look at the spell. You changed your shape, the new form, and there's some mechanics to go with this. We're going to go over that. So the new form can be any creature with a challenge rating equal to your level or lower. You are casting this spell starting at 17th level. So that is a CR 17 or lower. The creature cannot be a construct or an undead, and we're going to revisit that right there because that is a change that has happened in this spell over the history of Dungeons and Dragons. And you must have seen that sort of creature at least once. You transform into an average example of that creature, one without any class levels or the spell casting trait. Your game statistics are replaced by the statistics of the chosen creature, though you retain your alignment and your intelligence, wisdom, and charisma scores. So you get your own personality. You don't take on the thing's personality. You also retain all your skills and saving throw proficiencies in addition to gaining those of the creature. So if your saving throw proficiency is higher, well, you get your, so let's say, you're a warlock, which means I think it's charisma and constitution. So if the creature has any saving throw proficiencies, you get those as well. If the creature has the same proficiency as you and the bonus listed in its statistics is higher than yours, the creature's bonus replaces yours. Now, this is the important one. You cannot use any legendary actions or layer actions of the new form. That is a very important sentence to highlight right there. And then you assume the hit points and hit dice of the new form. When you revert to your normal form, you return to the number of hit points you had before you transformed. And then there was some other stuff, but that I just wanted to highlight some of the pertinent mechanics for this spell. So let's take a look at the new Shapechange. Now you're going to notice we go over here to this one. The listing for this is long. It is really long. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs. 6 paragraphs. By the way, and it is usable by druids and wizards, not sorcerers, not warlocks, not bards, although they can get this at a certain point. Now, you'll notice this one is only 4 paragraphs. 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's take a look at it. Still 9th level spell, still 1 action, still self, still lasts for an hour, still concentration. So you shapeshift into another creature for the duration or until you take a magic action to shapeshift into a different eligible form. The new form must be a creature that has a challenge rating no higher than your level or challenge rating. So again, you're going to be casting this spell at 17th level, so that's a CR 17 or higher. You must have seen the sort of creature before, and it cannot be a construct or undead. So let's highlight that, because we're going to talk about that particular mechanic of the spell as it pertains to previous versions of the spell. Now, you'll notice that there is a particular sentence missing from this, but we're gonna continue. So, when you cast a spell, you gain a number of temporary hit points equal to the hit points of the first form into which you shapeshift. These temporary hit points vanish if you remain when the spell ends. So, essentially, just getting temp hit points. If I shapeshift into something that has 200 hit points, I get 200 temporary hit points. And that's it. If I go to something else that has 159 or 250 temporary, I don't get those. So it behooves you to shapeshift into something that has a lot of hit points first and then ratchet down from there. Now, next block is your game statistics are replaced by the stat block of the chosen form, but you retain your creature type, alignment, personality, intelligence, wisdom, charisma, hit points, hit dice, proficiencies, and ability to communicate. So all that stuff about proficiencies with saving throws, that's all gone now. So you only retain your proficiencies. That's it. You don't get the proficiencies of the form. If you have the spellcasting feature, you retain that as well. Upon shapeshifting, you determine whether your equipment drops to the ground or changes in size and shape to fit the new form while you're in it. And this is usable, again, by druids and wizards, but there are ways for bards and warlocks to get this spell. Now, what is missing from this is that particular sentence right there. In the legacy version, it says you cannot use legendary actions or layer actions of the new form. In the new version, that sentence is missing, meaning that you can use legendary actions. Now, if we look at shapeshift, because that's a thing, shapeshift does not say anything about legendary actions at all. It just says let you shapeshift. Description of what happens to you is the spell. Unless the description says otherwise, any ongoing effects on you, condition spells, curses, and the like carry over from one form to another. I also looked through the latest Sage Advice Compendium, and it doesn't say anything at all about that either. There's nothing in here about the mechanics of this spell and how it is or is not different. So, legendary actions are on the table, meaning we need to start looking at, and I've gone through and put out this table of creatures in order of their CRs down. So it starts out at like, I think it's on page 1, it's like a 20, 30, or 31 or 32 or something. So we have to go all the way to page 10 before we start getting CR 17 creatures. But here you'll notice, all right, let's look at Adult Red Dragon, who is a CR 17, 256 hit points, legendary actions, commanding presence, can cast command, can't take this action again until the start of the turn. So it gets 3 of these, but I can only do this once. Fiery Rays, and then it can move. It can pounce. Pretty good. What else do we got here? We've got Adult Gold Dragon, 243 hit points. It's got some at-will stuff. It's got a breath weapon. It's got Banish. It's got Guiding Light and Pounce. So I think all the dragons have Pounce. So you can just pretty much go through. As long as you've seen it, you can turn in it. Now, the Death Knight is undead, and you cannot turn into undead. Dracolich is undead. You can't turn into the Dracolich. But something like, I have Mythic Odyssey of Theranos, so Hythonia, as long as you've seen it, it's got 199 hit points. It's CR 17, has legendary actions. Snaky hair, I think this is like a super Medusa. There's things like Amethyst Dragon, Adult Blue Dragon. What's the Blue Dragon's legendary actions? Cloaked Flight, Sonic Boom, Cast Shatter, and Tail Swipe. So that doesn't have a pounce, and it's got 212 hit points. So lots of particular choices to make with this. Lots of choices. So let's take a look at the first edition Dungeons and Dragons. Here it is right here. Shapechange, 9th level spell, range of 0, so self. Duration 1 turn per level. A turn was 10 minutes in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. So with the spell, the magic user is able to assume the form of any creature short of a demigod, greater devil, demon prince, singular dragon type. And what Gary Gygax meant by singular dragon type was essentially something like Tiamat or Bahamut. There were unique dragons you could not turn into unique dragons, and this is explained later in here why that would be. And he didn't really explain it 100%, but it is what it is. Greater demons, so no Balors, Balrogs, Pit Fiends, things like that. The spellcaster becomes a creature he or she wishes and has all the abilities save those dependent upon intelligence. So that carried over into 5th edition. For the mind of the creature is that of the spellcaster. Thus, he can shape change into a griffin. Thence, Gary loves to use these kinds of words. Thence to an Efreet and then to a Titan, etc. These changes have whatever hit points the magic user has at the time. So, temporary hit points? No. The new hit points to the creature? No. If you had 1 hit point and you transformed into a Titan, you transformed into a Titan with 1 hit point. So that kind of sucks. And wizards didn't have the greatest, magic users didn't have the greatest hit point system. Each alteration in form requires a segment. No system shock is incurred. That is a mechanic that is no longer around. A wizard, and I think he meant to say magic user, is in combat, this is example, and assumes the form of a will-o-wisp, and then when this form is no longer useful, changes into a stone golem. When pursued, the golem changes into that of a flea, which hides on a horse. And if detected as the latter, the magic user can become a dragon. That's why I say you can become a dragon. You just can't become a singular dragon type. So let's take a look at 2nd edition. 2nd edition, very similar spell to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. They added a few different things in here. They still have the singular dragon type in here. Can still continually change shape. And you can become undead in this. So they go through the same thing that they did in the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons example. However, in this one, it says a wizard adopting another form also adopts its vulnerabilities. For example, a wizard who becomes a specter, that's an undead, so you could become a specter, is powerless in daylight and is subject to being turned, controlled, or destroyed by opposing clerics. So that was a thing. So in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons in 2nd edition, you could become undead. So let's look at 3rd edition. Here's 3rd edition. Spell functions like polymorph, except that it enables you to assume the form of any single non-unique creature of any type, from fine to colossal. And this was animal, 9th level, druid, sorcerer. So animal meant that was the animal domain for clerics. Lasted 10 minutes a level, so that kind of carried over from AD&D and 2E. So you could assume a form, and it could not have more hit dice than your caster level, to a maximum of 25, and it allows you to become incorporeal or gaseous form. You gain all extraordinary and supernatural abilities of the assumed form, so that would be things like dragon breath and things like that. But you lose your own supernatural abilities. Some of the races had supernatural abilities. You also gain the type of the assumed form in the place of your own. The assumed form doesn't disorient you. Parts of your body or pieces of equipment that are separated from you don't revert to their natural form. So you can become any form you're familiar with, changing form up to once each round as a free action. The change can take place during another action. So all of that has kind of moved from one to another, except for like hit points. So I think they don't actually say how many hit points. The assumed form can't have more than your caster level in hit dice, but I think it says in polymorph that you assume you still have your own hit points. So if we go here to polymorph, let's see, polymorph. Spell functions like alter self, except that you can change to a willing creature, and it doesn't really say. So it's probably the same as the AD&D one. But the change that happened in D&D 5th edition is we got these temporary hit points, or we assumed like the creature's armor hit points. That's what we used to call it when we used to cast these spells, is that it was Shapechange armor or Wild Shape armor, where you would assume the hit points, and then when you went to 0 for the creature, you went back to your original form with whatever hit points you had when you shape changed. And now it's just temporary hit points. And again, you should probably be transforming into something with a lot of hit points first before you transform into anything else. All right, that is what I have for everybody today. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I will catch everybody